Thank you for that introduction, Robert. I'm very, very pleased to be here. You already introduced me, so I think we all have in common that we're here because we are interested in how do we create better agile teams. And before I really start on my topic, I wanted to share my personal history with this conference. XP2002, I was there, and this was the first XP conference that I came to. And it had a huge influence on me personally. This is the only picture I have from that event. You'll recognize Kent Beck. That's me in the middle, and my husband, Jeff. And we're standing in front of the poster that we presented there. And I met a community of people who took the time to talk to me. I'm this very young, inexperienced programmer from Sweden. And I'm chatting with Kent Beck and Jutta and Joshua and Martin Fowler was there and Michael Feathers and a bunch of people who all took the time to talk with me and make me feel that this was a community I could be part of and that we're just, human and kind. And that's the kind of leader that I'm trying to be today in the communities that I'm part of. So I owe a great deal to that conference and seeing those. I was so starstruck, and yet they were so down to earth and talked to me about all of this. So I came back from that conference really inspired, and I came to a lot of XP conferences after that. This is a photograph of my bookshelf that I still have all these, and a lot of them, there's 2 copies of the conference proceedings because I came together with my husband, so we each got a copy. I was a regular. I missed 2 for maternity leave, but I was at all of these ones. And even in 2011, I got my name on the cover of the proceedings. I'm not quite sure what my role. I remember reviewing lots of papers and doing some organization, but anyway, that was a real privilege as well. But you'll notice that I stopped coming after 2014, and perhaps the title of my talk gives a clue to that, because I just felt that, well, let me tell you the story. Now, of course, the Agile Manifesto from 2001, this is kind of, it wasn't the beginning, the first XP conference was before this, but it was the 17 industry experts coming together to try and point the industry in a new direction and coin this new term, Agile. And at this point in 2002, there were, the conference was about this size, about 120 people, as I remember. And a lot of the people who were behind this manifesto were there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what was said. This is Ken Schwaber. So the picture is from about 15 years ago. I couldn't find any pictures of him from 2002. But he gave the opening keynote at 2002, and he gave this firebrand, inspirational talk about go out and convert, basically. I came out of that talk thinking, wow, he is so fired up about this. And I was looking around at like 120 people and thinking, he's pretty ambitious. I'm really not sure this is going to work, So one of the things he said, though, in that talk, I can't find my notes. This is from Martin Fowler's blog post. He said that XP provided engineering practices that were missing in so many IT organizations, and the resulting blend of XP and Scrum was the most pure of the agile processes. So at the time, he was seeing Scrum as kind of a superset with XP in the middle. And it kind of didn't really last that long, that kind of a view of Scrum. Kent Beck was also there, and he gave a closing address. And he also was asking us to change the world. And his vision was about trying to improve on what XP had started, trying to research what really worked and improving the practices. And for me, this seemed much more realistic. It was like, this is what's going to change the world. It's the engineering practices. I mean, I was a developer. I am a developer. So I find it interesting to look back on where this conference started and why I was so enthusiastic about it. And the technical practices of XP were just transformational for me, and I still think they are to some extent. Then I wanted to highlight XP2025, which was in Sheffield. There are more of you who were there, I think. I think Diana was there. Yeah. I remember this workshop with Laurent Bossevit and Emmanuel Gaillot. They presented the Coders Dojo, and it was, I just want to explain what that is. This is a meeting that they were having in Paris at the time. Like every week, they would get together. They would write some code together on a code kata. They would practice their skills. They would explain what they were doing. They would collaborate on writing the code better. And they brought this to the XP conference, and I took part there, and I was like, wow, this is really exactly what I need now, because at the time I was trying to get the rest of my team to adopt test-driven development, and they were having none of it. So I thought, well, I'll set up a coding dojo and invite my colleagues, and it will go better. And this changed my life. Robert C. Martin was also there. This is the blog, the website, the Coding Dojo website that they have set up. It's still going. Robert C. Martin blogged about it. He was there. And after a few years later, I had done so many coding dojos, I wrote a book about it. And this, I thought, was a really useful thing for spreading technical practices. And Robert C. Martin wrote the foreword. He was a big influence on me at the time. The next memory is, this is not an XP conference. This is, I've just realized my timer hasn't been running. Sorry. Right, I have to look at my watch. This is an Agile conference in Canada. And he stepped onto the stage to basically say that the industry is still pointing in the wrong direction. We didn't fix it with the Agile Manifesto. We need to have a fifth value, craftsmanship over crap, as he put it. And he was very worked up about this. But he said at the time, though, that this wasn't really a serious suggestion, because, I mean, you can't. The thing with the other four values is that we do value the thing on the other side, and we don't value this other thing. So anyway, some other people kind of picked up on this idea and declared the Manifesto for Software Craftsmanship a few months later. And this is the manifesto, and it's trying to build on the original four values. It's got the same format. It's trying to say not only working software, well-crafted software. And each of the four things in the original manifesto has an extra proviso. You've probably seen it. Now, so this was Robert C. Martin kind of trying to point out that the Agile movement has lost its way. It needs re-emphasizing the technical practices. The software craftsmanship movement, I think, got a lot wrong, basically. I have this YouTube video out last week. You can go and watch if you want to see the full rant. But I think that they got a lot wrong. But there is something useful in it, and I think that Robert C. Martin did have a point at some level. Because, I mean, so that was 2008 for that keynote, but I still came to the XP conference a few more years after that. But I was just, what happened after that? Well, I just found that there was less and less of the interesting technical content. The original XP practices are here, and this is all about programming and programmers and what we do with the code. And this is a more recent picture of Scrum, and this is a great way for managing a product, maybe, and that there's good. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just like, where's the code? Where's the part that I find interesting? You know, this is great, but it really wasn't interesting me. And I think most technical people stopped associating Agile with anything technical, and they stopped coming. So let's talk a little bit about Agile coaching, though, because this is also a big influence for me. We've got the Scrum Master or the Agile Coach. It's a central role in Scrum and many other Agile methods. And you're making the Agile ceremonies happen. You're trying to help the team to build a more collaborative culture. And this is important. Collaboration is really important for building good software. Big visible charts. This has been in XP and all the Agile methods, really, that we visualize the work so that we can highlight what needs to happen and that we can self-organize by being able to see the work. This is great. And this is a Kanban board, but there are other big visible charts to help us see the status and make it easier for us to collaborate. And one of the problems, I think, is that if you think about the code, it's kind of invisible. So this is the Scrum Master, or the Agile coach, standing outside the kind of, I've put this factory, it's not really a factory, but it's to kind of symbolize what happens. The developers go into the code base, and they do stuff, and new software comes out the other end. And what happens inside there is invisible unless you can go and read the code. And the vast majority of Agile coaches don't read code, or they don't anymore. So there's this kind of disconnect between the daily lived experience of the developers, what they can see while they're working, and what the Agile coach is able to actually help them with. There's kind of, we're lacking that big visible chart showing the state of the code, because the state of the code is all too often is a disaster. This can't really be fixed by somebody who doesn't see the code, or at least there have been attempts made, I think, but it's not really on the priority horizon of too many teams, I think, because they can't see it. Now, I want to go back to this picture of Scrum, because the reason the code is in such a bad state is not only that the people outside the code base can't see it. I think there's a systemic issue here, that the definition of technical debt from Ward Cunningham is basically it's the gap between the design you currently have in the code and the design that you now realize you need. And because of this feedback loop, all Agile methods have got this feedback loop between, you put the code out, the people start using it, and you gather feedback from them about what to build next. So fundamentally, you don't, when you build the thing, you don't know what you're going to build next, for some definition of next, because you only find out what you're going to build next when the user has seen it and you get the feedback. So it's absolutely systemic in an Agile method that there will be a gap between the design you have and the design you now realize you need. So it's not a mistake. This is part of Agile. In Waterfall, you fix this by basically there's never a gap because you decide up front what you need. But of course, that doesn't work either. But the thing with Agile is it generates technical debt, and I don't see most Agile methods have any mechanism to kind of address that. So I think it's a systemic problem with Agile methods, most of them. So I'm talking about technical debt here. This is, Martin Fowler calls it cruft, and it's maybe a slightly different concept, but I think this is a good enough description. It's deficiencies that make it harder than it would ideally be to modify and extend the code. So this is my drawing of the kind of, you're slowed down by the technical debt. There's this sketch graph that comes up in as well it's at about the same time, basically trying to point out that there's a relationship between code quality and how well you can work with the code. This is what Martin Fowler was saying, that the quality of the code, if it's too low, it will slow you down, and your Agile process will eventually grind to a halt, because you can't deliver those new changes in the code in any reasonable time for a sprint or an iteration. This graph is anecdote. This is data from a paper by Adam Turnhill and Marcus Borg, where they actually show this relationship with data. They have a proprietary measure of code health that they were studying, and looking at the relationship between the health of the code in a particular file and how long it took to resolve JIRA issues in that file. And they found that it's the same graph, they've just flipped the axes and moved bad code to the right instead of the left. So that's why the shape of it doesn't look like the other graph. But it's the same thing. They're showing that in the lower quality code, feature development takes longer. Also from this paper, they've shown that it's not only that it takes longer, but that it's less predictable how long it's going to take. If the code quality is poor, all bets are off, basically, for how long it's going to take to develop that feature. They were like 9 times longer than in healthy code. And that makes it very hard to work out whether that feature that you just pulled from the backlog, is it going to get done this iteration or this sprint? Well, if the code's really bad, who knows? This makes it very difficult to be agile if you have this kind of code. So it's important. The continuous delivery and DevOps movement, I think it was coming up at about the same time as Robert Martin was giving that speech about craftsmanship. And I think this is where the technical part of Agile went. Continuous Delivery book came out in 2010. The Accelerate research is from that book is from 2018, but the research is much earlier. And this is, I think, where I started looking to for inspiration, basically. And this book by Dave Farley recently really does summarize the state of the art today in software engineering, that what we are doing is we're trying to manage complexity, we're trying to optimize for learning. This is the basis of what this book is all about, and I think it's spot on. And I think it's the same kind of problems that the whole Agile thing was trying to solve. And Dave Farley's done a great job with this book. So kind of pulling this all together, I'm going to get to technical coaching at some point soon. These are the team technical practices that I would want to ensure that a team of software developers is using today. So the XP practices are great, but I think that they're a little bit outdated, and this is how I would draw it. We've got double loop test-driven development in the middle there with the 2 different roles of the tests. For low-level design feedback and working out if you're building the thing the customer wants. You've got domain-centric architecture as part of the way that you structure the code. Hexagonal ports and adapters, they're all kind of domain-centric. As well as the automated testing, you need some exploratory testing with a skilled testing activity with humans do. Continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines and all of that technical part of making sure we can get the code integrated and built and out the door. Pair programming is definitely a quality practice. That's always been the case. Collaborating to improve the design of what we build. And then just in the middle, the basic clean and tidy code design. I'm trying to use language. I know that this idea of clean code is a very widespread concept. I don't like the term, so I'm trying to change it to clean and tidy. Trying to bring in Kent Beck's tidy first there and point out that it's about low-level understandability and maintainability of the smallest elements of the code. And it matters. That's one of the aspects of technical debt. Now, all of these technical practices don't just happen. So I've just talked about the fact that technical debt is a systemic problem, and we need to address it in the method level, as far as I'm concerned. And one of the things we need then is technical leadership to ensure that these kind of practices are happening. So I work mostly with large organizations, with many teams of developers, and between all the developers in the teams who are writing software, there's usually technical leadership. There's architects or staff engineers, and they are leading the technical work, and they do very useful things like decide the large-scale structural decomposition of the system, choose the technologies, they talk about the performance and how to get the performance that's needed, and these are all important technical leadership issues. What I don't see these people doing is paying any attention to the state of the code quality. And I don't think that's a personal failing, it's just that, they can't care about everything. So at some level, though, the code is being written in teams, so there needs to be some kind of leadership close to where the code is being written to ensure that all these technical practices are happening at the team level. And so some kind of tech lead on the team, but the thing is, I'm finding that Agile, as it's usually practiced, wants everyone in the team to have the same role, same job title, and there is no tech lead. And I understand the reasons for that we want everyone pitch in and not be precious about job titles, but I do think that the outcome that I'm seeing is that there's no technical leadership at the team level. The only thing that is completely ubiquitous now is pull requests for code reviews. And this is, I'm not entirely sure how this happened, because this is not an agile engineering practice. This is directly delaying integration by putting this toll gate in between a developer writing the code and getting that code integrated. And I don't see it as being a very useful practice for ensuring code quality. It's too late, it's after the fact, the code's written, the person doing the code review, it doesn't have that kind of mentoring attitude of improving the code. So although this is universal, I don't see it as any kind of good solution. Okay, so I need to start talking about what are some solutions here. Technical coaching, this is what I go around and do. I see this as a technical leader role, and I see it also as a role that sits kind of with the architects, because you're not tied to one team. You're there as a kind of internal consultant or external consultant who's coming in to help all the teams. Part-time, so you can sit with a team for a while and then you move on to another team. So I work with one or more development teams, in two or three in parallel, maybe, if I'm devoting my entire time to this. And I'll work with a particular team for a number of weeks and then move to another team. My role is really to support the technical leadership in the organization that is there. I'm not coming in with my own agenda. I want to enable them to achieve the goals for the architecture and the system decomposition and everything. That's not what I want to change. What I want to change is the way the code is written, to ensure we get quality in the code, that we have all these technical practices. So I'm teaching skills, and I'm helping to build this culture of adopting all of these technical practices. So the work I do is two main activities. There is the learning hours and the ensemble. So I'm going to go through each of those in a little bit more detail. The learning hours then. Now, this is where in the name, you can tell it's short, like an hour. And because it's short, developers hopefully will want to come back for another one. We try to get them to these sessions to be hands-on, interactive, attractive, team building. The team is learning together. They are discussing what is clean and tidy code, what are design patterns, what is this refactoring, so that they're building up the team vocabulary. And the structure of these sessions is inspired by Sharon Bowman. There's two of her books there, Training from the Back of the Room and Brain Science to Make Training Stick. And I think that she does a great job of explaining how to make training or learning sessions more compelling and more effective. So typically for a learning hour, my focus, like on clean and tidy code skills, we would look at an example piece of code that had some design problem. We'd talk about it, we'd learn the vocabulary of how to talk about this particular design problem, and relate it to what they perhaps already know. And then I'd probably do a demo of some kind of refactoring or tidying technique, and then we'll split into pairs, and everyone would hands-on do the same thing I did in the demo, and then perhaps do another slightly harder, similar example. And then, yeah. So before we leave, we just have a short conclusions and check everyone has understood something and is taking something away from the session. So this is what I've been doing with for many years. It's kind of similar to a very short coding dojo with more structure. It's all about peers talking, but with the addition of the coach directing the topic of study. So if you've been on my GitHub, you'll know that I have a lot of little exercises that you can get for free. The refactoring katas. So I've got here some of my favorites: tennis and Gilded Rose and theatrical players. They're all translated into lots of languages. I accept pull requests for translations. And I maintain these for my own coaching work. But of course, they're used by a lot of people around the world now. Which makes me very happy. And then we've got Katas for practicing test-driven development. This is where you start from scratch and you're learning about how to build up a solution incrementally with tests. Things like FizzBuzz, Mars Rover, vending machine. There is descriptions of these on the Saman Coaching website, which I'll talk more about. But these are the kind of problems that we tackle in a learning hour. So I mentioned that the technical coaching I do has got these two parts, the learning hours. There's also the ensemble. So typically I'll work with, at the moment I'm working with like one team at a time, and I book half-day sessions with them, so about 3.5 hours or something. So we start with a learning hour, we have a short break, and then we do ensemble, where we are going to work in their code. So this is, again, the whole team together, collaborating. We're going to write code together in real situations, in the code that they are working with daily, otherwise, going into their code base, seeing what state it's in. And I'm there as a kind of a mentor to help them to adopt the kinds of clean and tidy code practices that we've perhaps learned in the learning hour in their situation. So this is the thing that was really missing from the coding dojo. The coding dojo was great. I loved doing those. But the exercises from those sessions were always so much simpler than the production code. And I just found that the gap then to adopting the same practices in the production code was too large for most developers to cross. So they would have fun in the dojo, no difference in the production code. So this is where we bridge that gap. We go from the exercises into something real, and we try and adopt the same things, and we do it together. And we help one another, and I direct when needed. And my goal is basically mentoring, encouragement, in getting that communication going about code, getting the vocabulary in place so that they can talk about it, and get them to actually start using these new skills in a real situation so that when I'm gone, they'll carry on. Because that is, for me as a technical coach, that is the goal, that when I'm gone, something will change in the way that they're working and the quality of their code. So that, I can't be there the whole time, and they have to learn this stuff, and that's the measure of how well I've done. So my attitude always as a coach is, towards the start of the coaching period is, okay, get them started doing these things. Towards the middle, stepping back, letting them do it themselves, and by the end, this is the hardest bit, really trying not to step in and make them do it, and only pick them up if they really need it. And I do these coaching blocks of 10 coaching half days in a period of like 3 or 4 weeks, usually. So that's what I've been doing these past 7 or 8 years. Mostly European software companies, pretty large ones you'd have heard of. And I also pair coach. So I try and find people who I want to work with, who are already doing some technical coaching, and I invite them to join me with my client, and we collaborate on coaching the team. So I get the benefit of their expertise and their experience. They learn how I'm doing things, and the team gets this benefit of both of our expertise. And this is, I found, really effective for me to learn more and to bring in more technical coaches. So this is kind of what I'm doing at the moment, a lot of this, and I've written a book about the Saman method of coaching, which is what I just described to you. I chose the word Saman. It's a Swedish word, means together. I just wanted people to be able to Google this coaching method. There's different ways of doing technical coaching, and this is my kind of way of doing things. And I don't want it to be just a static thing that I wrote in a book and never changes. So I formed a society. It's a not-for-profit organization. We have currently about 14 members. These are all people who I trust and have in some way endorsed as technical coaches using this method. And we have events and this website, and we have a mission. As I said, it's not a profit organization. Our mission is basically to enable more people to do technical coaching and to actually try and spread this, because there's so much need for this. There's so much bad code out there. And that's why we are trying to spread this. Although, on paper, we're all competitors. Most of us are, independent consultants who fighting for the same customers, except there are so many potential customers out there. Maybe it doesn't matter that we share our expertise with one another and help each other with, this is a good learning hour I did. I'll write it up so that other people can use it. And that's kind of the basis of this, trying to get people to contribute. So if you go on the website, you'll find those code kata descriptions that I mentioned. You'll find learning hour descriptions, kind of a walkthrough of this is the learning hour I did, this is how I did it, this is what I said. You'll need to make your own slides and your own explanation, but this was a kind of a template that could help you. And we have events online every month that's open to anyone to come and chat with other technical coaches. And there are additional events when you kind of get closer to becoming a member. It's kind of a little bit unclear how to become a member, but it's my goal is that this group the inner circle will grow, but I want to make sure it's people I trust. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about technical coaching. How am I doing? Yeah? I want to talk about skills. So this is the picture I showed just now about the kind of the technical practices that I think teams need to be doing. So one of the things that's really influenced me recently is this skill acquisition model from Marion Hartman. And she is an academic in instructional design turned consultant. And she has a lot of really useful resources on that website. I'm not sure I've really understood most of it. I'm becoming her student. She's, hopefully I'm going to learn more from her about her models. But the way I understand it right now is that this is a 6-level model of skill, practical skill, as opposed to like the Bloom taxonomy, which is 6 levels of thinking skills. This is 6 levels of practical hands-on skills, like doing TDD, like refactoring. So the idea is with the practical, I should have said this. All of these are the kinds of practical skills that you go through this progression according to the Hartman model as you learn them. They're not things that you can learn purely by going to lectures. You have to. There's a hands-on component, and they go through these stages. You need to be at stage about 5, maybe 4, to do this skill competently at work. And this skill acquisition model helps you to see what activities to do to get people up to that level that they need for the job. So to get to comprehension, for example, you can get there by watching a demo and then trying to repeat it yourself. Conscious effort, you get there on a training course where you grapple with a few more exercises and hands-on with TDD. Conscious action, to get to this stage, you need much more variety of experience than you get on a training course, and you need probably some feedback from somebody external still about whether you're doing it right. And then getting up here, it's more mentoring, even more variety of experience. So these later stages can take months and years for more complex skills. Now the thing is, for a software developer, gaining this kind of skill, most organizations, there is no mechanism for this to happen. Code reviews is the only kind of vaguely mentoring-like thing that ever happens. And this is where I, as a technical coach, am coming in, that I want to get people up to proficient so they can start doing TDD and refactoring and really mastering this. Most large organizations, as I mentioned, have lots of teams and the technical leadership is doing other stuff. So what I observe when I go into here, that I find a few people with these skills, there's a few kind of people who somehow have managed to learn TDD by themselves or can refactor. A few perhaps have got the idea and could do a simple example when they're shown it, comprehension. But actually, the vast majority are not even familiar with these techniques. They've got these refactoring tools on their desk and they've never even opened the refactoring menu. And so I was kind of thinking this, as a very skilled technical coach, I'm up there at proficient on these skills, and I can help people to get up this. But wouldn't it be nice if when I came into a team, they were already at the first 2 or 3 steps? And maybe they didn't need an external expensive coach for that. So this is what I'm doing now. I mean, so I'm going around different teams, kind of coaching them, and every new team, I'm like, yeah, I'm pulling them up the first couple of stages again. Perhaps I could get some help with this. So I've just thought that actually in a lot of teams there is that person who's already at conscious action with some of these tools or more. There may be one person in the team who, if they're not already that skilled, maybe at least they're enthusiastic and they would like, and they at least understand what these skills are and would like their teammates to have these skills. So perhaps I could recruit them to do some, maybe not technical coaching as such, but facilitating this kind of skill acquisition. And I'm calling that a team learning facilitator. Or assistant technical coach didn't sound quite as good, so we'll see where we land with this. But anyway, the basic idea is that this person can be entrusted with leading some kind of team learning sessions for skill acquisition. And it's based on the idea of the learning hour from the kind of coaching I do, except that the person hosting the session is the team member. But the focus is still on team building and skill acquisition. If you look at the structure that I showed before of a typical learning hour, basically for an ordinary team member, the part of this that is really hard is that middle one. It's preparing a demo is a lot of work. I can tell you, I do a lot of demos. So what I basically try and give them is a video of me doing the demo that they can just show to the team, and then they can all split into pairs and try and do the exercise. And this is this seems to work. So far, when I've seen this, when you've got a team that has mixed skill levels, where you've got somebody in the team who knows a bit more and maybe a couple who know a bit, together with the video and the structured session that I give them, they can actually get somewhere. And the people who are more junior, in the sense that they don't know these skills at all yet, they get instruction and how to do it. They get to try it out. The people who are more senior, who perhaps are the facilitator or perhaps are just participants, but they are mentoring the juniors through the exercise to try and make sure they do it. And they pair program and they talk to one another and they explain how to do things and they gain mentoring skills. And then everyone hopefully learns some more vocabulary and because they have to talk about these techniques in these sessions. So that's the team learning sessions that I've been trying to set up recently. I should mention, I've been putting a lot of these demo videos on my YouTube channel, so you can get hold of those if you want them. And basically, I'm trying with these team learning sessions to get people up at least the first 2 levels, maybe the 3rd level on this skill acquisition model, just from team sessions that don't need an external fancy coach to come and do. And then when I do come into the team, then I can hopefully get them up the rest of the way to be able to be proficient and able to use these skills in the production code. Okay, I think I've got a few more minutes. I wanted to say something about generative AI. It is 2025 after all, and this is quite a big trend. And I know that Birgitta has already given you a keynote, and I was so sorry to miss that, because she is one person I really think knows what she's talking about on this topic. So I'm glad you've got to hear her talking about this. So I'm sure that you're familiar with this, the hype. You can code 55% faster, and if you look at the actual research and dig into it, you realize, yeah, that didn't really prove very much. The problem they were solving really wasn't very realistic. And the more recent data that's been coming out, this is a study showing the percentage of commits containing cloned code, duplication. This is not clean and tidy code. It's just, and there's this kind of avalanche happening of more of this bad code. And then you kind of point this out, and people are like, well, to be fair, people are still learning to use these tools. You expect at the start of a new wave of technology that there's a lot of people just making mistakes. So maybe this will calm down when people have got the hang of it. And we can also, hopefully, these tools can help us with refactoring. So this paper came out, which I thought was quite insightful. that we can't really turn to these AI assistants to solve the problem that they're creating either. They really aren't very good at refactoring. So this kind of leads me to believe that actually teaching refactoring skills is still useful in the age of generative AI, although these tools are getting better very fast, and this advice may be out of date soon. This is quite a recent post by Simon Willison, who's also an AI proponent, but he seems to be an independent voice, a bit like Birgitta. I think he knows what he's talking about. And he says, he's a huge fan of LLMs for coding support, and he says, I wonder if one of the reasons I'm finding LLMs so much more useful for coding than a lot of people is that effectively all the code I work on has automated tests. He's pointing out that I think this is a killer argument for having automated tests. And my current feeling is that all of these coding skills that I'm teaching about refactoring, recognizing good code, about writing tests, these skills are still useful in an age of AI, because I think they're the same skills that you need to get the AI to write good code. So I'm pretty optimistic that technical coaching is still a relevant thing to be doing, even in an age of Gen AI. And I'm also realizing that what I just said about refactoring tools, that all developers have got refactoring tools on their desktop, in their IDEs, and a fraction know how to use them properly. It's the same with Gen AI tools. All of the developers I meet have Gen AI tools in their IDE, and almost none of them know how to use them effectively. So I see a great opportunity there as well, and there needs to be some technical leadership at the level of where the code is being written, and that the kind of position that a technical coach comes into, I think, is well placed to provide that leadership and instruction at that level. So that's what I was basically wanting to say. Code quality matters. Technical coaching is the best way I know to help developers to learn the skills they need to write good quality code, because technical debt is a systemic problem in all agile methods. It's not a kind of a question of people being unprofessional or personal responsibility will sort this out. It is a systemic problem. We must address this at the level of the methods and the tools and the leadership and the skills that we're putting in place. And that is where I see technical coaching as being an essential complement to the rest of what Agile is doing with coaching and getting teamwork happening. So this is just a summary of some of my slides. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emily. I'm so glad that we persuaded you to come. We have 10 or so minutes for questions.
Thank you, Emily, first of all. Being a technical coach myself, I was wondering, do you have a piece of advice how to convince leaders, not management, but leaders, about the importance of technical coaching? Because Heidi taught us yesterday how important it is to focus on the outcomes and not on the technology when you talk to C-level/leaders. So do you have any advice how to explain or make leaders understand the importance of technical coaching?
Thank you. So I mentioned that the fundamental problem I'm trying to solve is the quality of the code, and that there is this relationship between the quality of code and the ability to deliver. And then perhaps I would back that up with a story of, so I was talking with a leader in a large organization recently, and he's like got 300 people under him. He's got this product that they've been building for 30 years at this point, very profitable, industry leading, it's making a lot of money, but the code, he knows that the code is in such a state that they can't innovate. That he was saying, I would love to be able to carve out 15% of my engineering efforts for innovation, but it's all going on maintenance. Because, and I explained, why did that happen? And he said, it's because we've had a 30-year period when nobody has emphasized the importance of this, and the developers have not been able to stand up to the pressure to deliver features enough to be able to say, no, wait a minute, we need to refactor. So I think his diagnosis is a little off, that he's putting the blame on the developers. But he was well aware of this problem and the need to do something. And so that's an argument that you talk to C-level executives and say, look, if you ignore this problem, long term, it's really going to hurt you. And actually, it doesn't need to cost that much to do the cleanup along the way, so you don't reach that position where you can't innovate. I hope that helps.
Hi. First of all, thanks for the presentation, for bringing that topic. My question is about the software architecture skills. Are they important? How you can work with that? In the beginning, like Agile didn't talk much about architecture, then this is something that was start to come more. So how do you see this fitting on this, the technical coaching? And
Right, yeah, so I definitely see that architects do a valuable technical leadership role. In the large organizations I work in, there are architects, and they have agendas for how they want to, decompose the system and migrate things and split things up, and that's useful. It's not my skill set, really. I've worked as an architect in the area of automated testing at the system level, or roughly. So I'm kind of aware of. I've been hanging around with architects, and I understand a bit what they do, but it is slightly different skill set than what I have as a technical coach. And I think they do valuable stuff, but I'm not sure that there's some kind of progression in a career from developer to coach to architect. I think it's a slightly different skill set, but the technical coach sits with the architects, I think, as an aspect of technical leadership.
But do you think that it's also needed at an architecture level, something like that?
Do architects need technical coaching? Right. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't really thought about that before. My focus is so much on developers and code, but architects do technical work, and they make technical decisions at a higher level, and they need training and mentoring to reach a good skill set in that. So yeah, specialized technical coaches for architects. Yeah, that could be a thing. Cool. There's a question at the back. I think you were next. When did the definition of done stop working? Right, as a filter to stop that less quality code from getting in. It's a bit late. I think the best way to get quality code is to pair program. By the time you get to the definition of done, the code's finished. And then the other thing is skill. It's the missing thing that a lot of developers really have never got mentored in what does good code look like. So even if they've got a checklist, that may be not enough for them to identify some of the flaws in the design and not have so design skills were really emphasized when I was young. I learned a lot of design skills in my first couple of jobs through mentoring with more senior developers, and I'm just not really seeing that happening anymore. That there's not much emphasis on fundamental object-oriented design, and there's the only mentoring, as I say, is through pull requests. Yeah, there's one here.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. You actually made me miss coding again, which I haven't done since the 90s, so there's something there. You talked about technical depth, and just a few days ago I heard a wonderful term which is called conversational depth. So you can basically say that AI operating at lightning speed, infinite capacity, we are still thinking like dinosaurs. Could you argue that for us to stay ahead using the digital things as our assistants. We actually collect conversational depth simply because they just get too far ahead of us. I think the two diagrams you showed, the code pollution and the lacking ability of the digital things to do refactoring, actually somehow indicates a thing like that. But what do you think?
So you're asking me about these digital coding assistants, these AI tools.
The like conversational depth.
Conversational depth.
The
I'm
lack
not
of-
entirely sure I've understood the concept. You have explained it now already, but I don't think this is the forum to explain it again. I've been adopting a wait-and-see approach with the Gen AI assistants for about the last year and a half. I've just been like, I'll let other people be at the forefront, and I'll kind of try and follow what's going on, but I'm not myself an expert in these things. And I think with the rise of agentic AI that's happened in the past weeks, it's really, I think my position now has changed in the past few weeks, that now I have to work out these tools. So I'll probably have a much better answer for you about anything to do with Gen AI in 6 months when I've caught up. I really need to work out what these things are now. I think agentic AI is completely different than the autocomplete that we had before. And I think it's much more powerful and interesting, and it looks like an engineering tool to me, which the autocomplete things in your editor didn't.
Thank you.
Do you have an idea why the understanding of architects has changed? So I share your experience when I was a younger developer without a gray beard. We had architects, but these architects, they were also taking time and doing pairing sessions with me for doing implementations where I basically learned my trade. But today I also have the feeling that architects are rarely working together with junior developers in doing concrete implementational work, and by that teaching them.
Yeah, I think experience is mixed. I'm not sure it's just that things have changed. I think there were these ivory tower architects even back in the day who never wrote any code. I think the job of architect has got a lot harder in the past 10 years with the cloud, and the landscape is so complex. I don't think they really have time to sit with developers. They're too busy trying to understand the latest offerings from Amazon and so on. I don't know. I think it's legitimate that they need to focus on other things. That there is a lot of important work to do there, but it has created this gap where nobody is mentoring the developers, and I'm not sure I can explain better than that.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for your talk. In the beginning, you said one of the big problems is that you cannot see the code quality. What are your methods to make people see?
I'm not sure I really have a good method here. I think if I could, static analysis tools can help you to find bad code. A lot of people are using SonarQube or CodeScene. They can, at some extent, show you visualization, and I think that's not wrong. But what's missing is why the leadership should care. Those metrics are very detailed and don't look like things that managers look at. So I think people are making attempts there, and I think CodeScene is doing quite well on that. They're much more kind of, what is the information the managers and the leaders want? So I would probably recommend that. But I don't know that we've really got a good solution here. I mostly just try and persuade with, as I said, stories about if you let this get out of hand, you're going to basically reach a point where you can't make progress.
Right.
Oh, I think we're out. I will talk to me afterwards. Oh, I have stickers. If anyone would like a Salman coaching sticker, please come and talk to me and I'll give you one.
Thank you so much again, Emily.
Thank you.